tracking of the motions of the fiery star. Getting beyond this more primal association of the stars and mortal events, however, has been a difficult journey in the history of human interest in Mars. One of the more interesting ironies of the past decade of Mars exploration that illustrates how far we have come is that simple image taken early in the mission of Mars Exploration Rover Spirit. In the photo, we see the Martian pre-dawn sky looking east, and in this sky is a tiny star, Earth. It is a subtle yet dramatic image, accompanied in the press release image by an arrow and the words, "You are here." It shows our small place in the cosmic scheme, of course, but to me, it is an image evoking how things have changed in our view of the planets, and Mars in particular. Here we were, on Mars, looking at a bright bluish-white morning star that was another world, yet so far, so small in the sky that if you didn't already know all the teeming life and business of Earth, you could not tell much about the presence or absence of life on Earth from this tiny dot. Across the distance that it takes light to travel in 20 minutes between Earth and Mars, and 45 years earlier, I was one of those on that small blue-white morning star viewing Mars from afar. It was during the twilight of telescopic Mars observation and the beginning of the space age that I began setting up my small telescope in the backyard. And whenever Mars was in the evening sky, I attempted to look at it. I recall that on one particularly clear night, I could see what I suspected was one of the polar caps, but not much else. All those dark markings and such were the province of observers with larger and professional telescopes. Mars was always a somewhat frustrating object in this respect. One was aware that there would probably be a lot of interesting things to see if you could just find a way to see them. Now, after all those years and all that wondering what it was like on that planet, I was one of those on the other end of that gulf between two planets, not only looking back at Earth, but looking at the surface of Mars up close and personal. Seeing Red, Mars Mania, the early years. Maybe the interest in Mars is simply a consequence of popular culture, or who can say, maybe there is something else going on. There is the speculation among some people that life on Earth might easily have originated on Mars and was transferred here in the first few 100 million years of our planet's existence. That could explain the interest we humans have had in Mars. Our interest has been the vague desire buried in our DNA to see the home world again. For now, that is only unsatisfying speculation and does nothing to solve the riddle of life's ultimate origin. Yet the search for the answer to that question, that is, whether there was ever life on Mars or whether it is present even today, is one that we have been pursuing for many decades. It is one of many stories that we will come to examine. But for now, there is no single explanation backed up by evidence or careful social analysis regarding why Mars has been such a focus of attention through the centuries. Some of the attention on Mars from the beginning of recorded history, undoubtedly, reflected an interest traceable to the appeal that the color red has for most humans. Red sunsets, red deserts, red sports cars. You name it, and if it is red, it is probably visually more arresting for most people. Early cultures have had a fascination with Mars's perceived magical properties as a celestial object in its astrological role and in interactions with other celestial bodies, or its mythical origins and associations with war or other fiery events of mayhem that loom large in the human condition. And then there is a more modern obsession, born of Mars's rich history in fictional and imaginative depictions as an abode of interesting events, creatures, or societies. And finally, the fascination that the lay public may have favors Mars as a new destination.